BBOR, Black Box Online Radio, coming to you from West Virginia. Looking a little different today, but we have just one very quick thing to say. I just have some follow up things to continue onward with our discussion about the Illuminati. Right now, it's the month of January, so I think it's a very good opportunity to look back on a lot of the things that we were discussing about the Illuminati and perhaps the New World Order as well from last year in 2019. It's now January of 2020. I'd say the two very big points that we mentioned during our discussions on the Illuminati would really center on let's just look at them. Number one, the concept of government is a very scary thing. I mean, it can be. Government can be something like why that people are genuinely afraid of for possibly very legitimate reasons. But the thing is, though, we can look at this as to why people are afraid of the government. It's because it's this thing that has lots of power that the masses do not necessarily have control of. Look at us in the United States of America, the concept of representative democracy. And I know some people really get into kind of a debate about we're not a democracy at all, we're a republic. But even if you just look at what a representative democracy is, that means we're not direct. You and I, the average American, we're not voting on things. We elect somebody else to make decisions on our behalf. We're just like, hey, representatives and senators, you guys are going to be having the power. That's not going to be us. So when you look at that system in general, that is something that, well, you can understand why people have a certain fear and distrust of government. And I will tell you, though, like this isn't some type of, anti-government right-wing channel or anything, but no, I don't trust the government at all. Absolutely not. No more than you would trust, well, anyone's capable of deceiving you. Anyone is capable of kind of ripping you off, and anyone is capable of manipulating the system for their benefit. Why would senators and congressmen be exempt from that? Why would the president be exempt from that? Why would the Secretary of State be exempt from that? No, people have their own self-interests, and they want to go about things in their own way. And that's all we can really say about that. I mean, it's just government is something that cannot always be trusted. The other thing that we would say about the Illuminati is, and we mentioned this during our discussion on Ruby Ridge, and it wasn't my own original comment. I got it from a different YouTuber, but they said that if there is an Illuminati out there, then they're probably not calling themselves the Illuminati. They're probably using a different name. Because when most people think about the Illuminati, they think about this group that is kind of masterminding world events and not only controlling the governments, but also the music industry and manipulating our thought process. Is that whole concept of if you control how people think, you control everything. Therefore, this group, whatever they would want to call themselves, they are just controlling humanity and, in short, turning people into sheep, hence the term sheeple, easy to be herded. So I think that there is a possibility that we could have aspects of things like that. I mean, oligarchy is very real. Oligarchy does propagate. And we have groups that have, like small groups can have lots of power. That's a big conclusion that we did kind of establish in 2018 and 2019, having these types of discussions on the channel about the New World Order and the Illuminati and such. But what I would say is, though, the Illuminati, as discussed in our book, The True History of Religion, that we were going through on this channel, is quite different. The book, The True History of Religion, was authored by a group that calls themselves the Real Illuminati. And what they mean by the Real Illuminati is very simple, that they are people who have advanced knowledge. And the Illuminati is not isolated to that secret society in Bavaria in in the 1800s. I'm getting ahead of myself. I almost said 2020, thinking about the present. But they're saying that the Illuminati is the group of people that have advanced knowledge, pretty much. Like that would be the absolute nutshell version that what we came away with from the book by the Real Illuminati called The True History of Religion. There are people who have advanced knowledge that is superior to that of the normal, average, everyday person. And when you put that into a certain particular sense, like a particular type of context, what you can say is that, I mean, I think that there's a certain sense of value in that type of discussion. Because look at what we said about how they want people to become the sheep. They want them to be the sheeple, a nation of sheep, and all of those things. That means that they want the public to be kind of dumb downplayed. It's like you have the compliant population. The problem is, though, I believe that this goes off in a lot of very bizarre directions, and there are a lot of bizarre discussions about how this gets blown out of proportion. Alex Jones is telling you don't drink the water because it has fluoride in it, and that's going to be rotting your brain. So that once again, these globalists and New World Order people can have their compliant population. But if you get rid of all of that wacky stuff, you get rid of all of that wacky stuff, then you can just see kind of the heart and soul of the issue, which is they're talking about there are going to be a different variety of groups. You have the masses, you have the individual, and then you have the small groups. And yes, I am quoting that stuff from Prison Planet TV when they sort of say that the small groups are the hardest to change because the masses can be persuaded through propaganda, and an individual can change his or her mind very easily. It's getting a small group to change is kind of getting the small group to forfeit their core convictions is something that is much more dangerous and because once you get half of the small group to come to your side, the other half is going to try to pull them back, and that's going to create friction. And then, boom, there's an explosion of ideas and conflict and all of those things. So, and not to mention, as we said, oligarchy is real. There are small groups that do want to have power for themselves. That's the very nature of special interests, is it not? That's why people are opposed to the Koch brothers and their political action committees, and that's why even lesser known, more mundane examples of this are why the Democrats are opposed to things like the Paul Ryan super PAC. Not Paul Ryan himself, but the super PAC that is manipulating the political system. The entire concept of super PACs are an example of this. There are political action committees that don't have to declare where the money comes from so that they can manipulate the political system to their advantage. So when we have these discussions about the Illuminati, I think it's very flashy to talk about a secret society controlling the world. But in reality, I think the more beneficial things to talk about when it comes to the Illuminati are just how people can have advanced knowledge and actually know how the system is run. And because of if the public doesn't know how the system is working, if they don't really think about the concept of oligarchy, then you can, well, then you can kiss change goodbye, pretty much. And this is one of the things that was mentioned by that group, the Real Illuminati, as well as their other partner groups, Marvelous Work and Wonder and the Humanity Party. They have various names for various different purposes. What they were really trying to convey to us is that we will never have real political change as long as we have the same political system intact. That's why they've proposed the concept of the Humanity Party, which is kind of getting rid of some of the borders and just talking about the unification of humanity. The unification of humanity is a good thing. That's another conclusion that we've kind of came away with from 2019. We talked a lot about the politics of unity, the politics of love. I get all of those things, but at the same time, the Humanity Party says that they're the first political party by and for the people. And I was listening to one of their debates once, and one guy's like, "Hey, you guys are saying you say you're on the side of the people. You say you have this political party by and for the people, but in reality, you're just trying to force your way on everyone because you think it's better. You're just trying to say, oh yeah, but we're going to be the leaders. They're just another small group that wants the power for themselves, and that's it. They're being a little bit hypocritical by saying that they simply want to have political change, or that we'll never have real political change in America until we get a new political system. But at the same time, it doesn't eliminate the concept of oligarchy. They want to become the oligarchs, and I'm all for ambitious people because I understand that ambition is going to be something that's part of life. You're probably an ambitious person in some way, no matter who you are. I mean, nothing is wrong with ambition. But when your sole ambition is to become some sort of establishment political jerk off, that's when you can sort of take exception with certain people. And you really see this in the presidential election that's going on right now. Maybe you can think of a few names that come to mind about people who don't necessarily want to be political game changers, but would rather just kind of be an establishment oligarch shill to increase their own power. And there's a school of thought out there that is sort of like kind of contrary to the Illuminati thing, just that no matter what, you're going to get ambitious people that care about their own power. It's just you need somebody in office who's actually going to be a good actor. You need somebody in office who's actually just going to be on the side of the people and actually making good decisions. So in that respect, the Humanity Party says that, well, we're going to be the good actors, but I mean, that's totally based on faith. I mean, nobody knows who they are. They're very, very, they're not very well known. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so hesitant to talk more about them. I find this stuff interesting, and I listen to their stuff on the channel Government of Deity that has their backlog of the Blog Talk radio show, and part of me just asks myself, what on earth am I doing? Why am I listening to radio reports from 2015 and such? They're talking about Barack Obama, who hasn't been in office for years. And the only justification that I can find for something like that is that it's now history. I mean, like it's now history. It's like we learn about the past and we learn about the previous administrations. In 2017, I went through a big phase when I was listening to a lot of, radio and news reports from 2012 following the election prior to, Romney versus Obama. And that was my justification for it. It's like you're learning just how the political system functions. And I will tell you, though, you guys who study history, you know this perhaps way better than I do. It just repeats itself over and over again. You can go back to the 1700s and you'll find the same sort of political discourse that we have going on in the United States of America right now. I made a comment once on this channel that I was listening to Nelson Rockefeller in the 1950s, like a report from Meet the Press Radio, and it was the same stuff about that we have going on in our present day and age. When you have something like, oh, liberals and versus conservatives, big government, small government, but that's been going on as long as there was a United States of America, going back to Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. They're just using different words, but it's just paraphrasing the big government, small government debate. Hamilton, of course, is a proponent of loose interpretation of the Constitution and the Bank of the United States. All of those things. It's like it's the same argument that's just been reshaped and the same sort of political dichotomy that has been shaped over and over again. And that's why we never really have answers to the problems. Does that mean that there is a group that called the Illuminati that is running things behind the scenes? I'm not convinced. The way that people describe it, the way that people like Mark Dice describe things, I'm not convinced. Does that mean that there's a new world order out there that is trying to kind of create this sort of global government? I'm not convinced of that either. But what I can say is that, there's a reason why people like Mark Dice and Alex Jones get more famous than other professorial and academic types. It's because something that the Humanity Party, that group that I was just mentioning, talked about in the past. They were just like, if you get an academic or a professorial type, no one will listen to them, not en masse. You need someone who can sort of talk, and what the Humanity Party calls like the man from Joe's Bar and Grill. You need a man from Joe's Bar and Grill, an average, everyday person who can speak their language and communicate to people. That's why Alex Jones became so much more famous than people like Webster Tarpley or Lyndon LaRouche. LaRouche was famous for a while, but his popularity has since declined. And I'm 31 right now. I'm 31. And whenever I talk to people in my age demographic, and I talk to them about Lyndon LaRouche, they have no idea who he is. He didn't stick around. So, I mean, it's really about how you kind of communicate these ideas. So I think in conclusion, what we can say about the Illuminati is just that if we just look at this as the Illuminati as people who have more advanced knowledge of how the system works. And this isn't exactly the thesis statement of the book, The True History of Religion, but the Illuminati can be viewed as people who have the advanced knowledge of how the system works that allows the mechanism for oligarchy to propagate. And the mechanism that allows this oligarchy to propagate is the New World Order. So the Illuminati are the people who have the advanced knowledge of the New World Order and how the power is going to be distributed to certain groups. Because let's not kid ourselves. Some groups are more powerful than others. Okay, well, that's all for me now. I would love to hear what you have to say about anything. Just a little rant today about the Illuminati and some of the conclusions, and let's, be skeptical of things. Let's challenge things in our government as well as the critics. Let's challenge the skeptics, the critics, challenge everybody. Use your own mind and make your own conclusions. If you think that everything that I said is crazy, challenge me in the comments section below. That's all for me now. Until next time.